Okay, Neil Lennon has resigned as Celtic manager. I find that very, very surprising, to be honest. The timing of it. Not that he's gone. We knew the end of the season his time was up. They weren't going to renew his contract at Celtic. The board had said we'll make a decision in the summer. That was announced before Christmas. There was a lot of pressure before Christmas after the defeat in the cup to Ross County at home, and there was fan protests. So the fan base was clearly not happy with how the form was going in both domestically and in Europe. Their European campaign was an unmitigated disaster. Shocking. 2 wins. They couldn't get out the second round of Champions League qualifying, and they struggled in the Europa League. They got battered pillar to post. Some heavy defeats in there. And then losing to Ross County, not once but twice this season, I don't think would be what the board would have envisioned at the start of the season. 18 points adrift of Rangers, and Hibs are actually not that far behind them in real terms in the league. I think Hibs could quite easily overtake them for second, because Hibs have improved this season. They're better off now than when he was managing them, and that tells you something. They've massively improved as a side. And Rangers, they could stretch their lead even further. The defeat to Ross County in the week, 1-0. Yeah, Ross County going into that game, bottom of the league, scrapping for their survival, gets them out of the relegation zone. They wanted that game more. There are clearly issues within that playing group. It's more than just Neil Lennon. I think that the situation goes far deeper. I think there are questions that have to be asked of the board, of recruitment policy, of scouting, of youth development policy, letting players go far cheaper than they should. Van Dijk being one. How cheaply he was sold on. Yes, you could argue, is he his injury this season, but he's gone on to do far better things. And player recruitment. What players want to play at Celtic. This is an issue for all Scottish clubs, to be fair. Like enticing decent quality players to the Scottish Premiership. There's no denying that. But the issues are bigger than Lennon. The way the board has basically hung him out to dry, basically. They were leaving him as a dead man standing in the position. They said they were going to move on in the summer. So he's resigning now. There's obviously got to be more things behind the scenes. I think he was close to getting the sack. But if they were going to make a managerial change, that could have a positive impact on their league position or on the hunt to try and at least close the gap to Rangers with some pride and avoid slipping to third behind Hibs. They should have done it before Christmas. Because the situation then was Aberdeen and Hibs were breathing down their neck. And yes, their form has improved in recent weeks, post the festive period, but the gap to Rangers is still there. And the defeat to Ross County, I think, has summed it up. They've also lost against Livingston. Hibs are a decent side. They've lost both old firm clashes so far this season with Rangers in the league. So, long story short is, Rangers have improved massively under Gerrard. There's no denying that. Hibs have massively improved as well since Lennon left the club in 2019. From where they were, where he had them, to where they are now, that's a massive improvement. And Celtic have got worse. It's not that they haven't stayed still; they've declined. So you have to look at the players, and some blame lies with them. But you have to look at Lennon himself. Absolutely has to shoulder some of the blame because he's the manager. He puts out the tactics. But then you have to look at some of the boardroom decisions. The fact they left him in there after the Ross County defeat in the cup, when things were clearly going wrong, both in the cup competitions and domestically at that point, which is why Rangers have got such a big lead now, that should have been the action point before the transfer window opened. They kept him in there, saying, we'll part ways in the summer. They parted ways before the summer. We're not even at the end of February yet, and he's gone. We're not even at Easter. So who replaces him? Well, Eddie Howe's in the running. Frank Lampard and Rafa Benitez are the three favourites to be considered for the position. It'll be interesting to see who gets the job in the long term. But I think there's a lot more to this than just a bad season for Celtic. I think there are clearly issues at this club behind the scenes. And I'll be interested to hear from Celtic fans, because that protest after the cup defeat to Ross County was an outburst of anger. And don't get me wrong, Celtic fans love Neil Lennon. They love what he's done for the club as a player and as his 2 spells as manager, with the amount of silverware he brought to the club, the record-breaking seasons they've had. They love him as a manager. They do respect him. But clearly something's gone wrong with this club. Badly. You could argue recruitment policy, scouting, player development, some boardroom decisions, and the fact they left him in there when it was clear that this season was unravelling before Christmas makes no sense to me. If they were going to make a positive change, it should have happened before the transfer window opened. in January. Right in the last week of February, I don't think it's the right time to make a change. It's no, the manager, whoever comes in, can't sign any new players, can't refresh the squad. All they can do is just change the tactical lineup and rotate players possibly, but they can't sign anyone new, and they can't offload those players that they feel don't fit the system or the league. So Celtic are in a real tough position, and Hibs could pass them for second. So we'll see what happens, but I feel sorry for Neil Lennon, I do, but I feel that his position had clearly become untenable. But he should not have been left in his position as long as they left him in there. But I do believe he was going to get sacked at some point, and that lies with the board. I think heads should roll at boardroom level and behind the scenes, because it can't all lie with Neil Lennon how bad they've been this season and the decline in form. The gap between rages is stark, and Celtic have games in hand, admittedly, and they're not taking advantage of that. And the gap to Hibs is not as big as I think it should be from where they were last season. So questions have to be asked of more than just Neil Lennon, but he's resigned with immediate effect. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I will have some more videos for you very, very soon.